Back to my colleague Francis Hurd, who's conducting interviews and hearing from independent candidates who are speaking with almost one voice, talking about how they are tired of corruption, tired of bigger parties who perhaps only show up when it's election time, and speaking to voters directly and saying what they offer to them. Some are saying that they are going to make sure that there's clean administration, that there's people who are in the communities that they represent, making sure that their votes are not going to waste. Let's go back then to Francis Hurd at the M1 studio in Radio Park.
Thank you very much, Nzinga. So we're back live at the M1 studio. And yes, like you say, these could be movers and shakers. We could see the political landscape in South Africa changing again because we have an unprecedented number of political parties contesting the November 1 polls. Some of them you may have heard of. Some of the parties may be new to you. We also have an incredible amount of independent candidates this time, more than 1,500. And such diversity here tonight, or across different wards, across different areas, but all saying we need to take the power back and we can do something that the big parties can't. All right, let's go now to some of the supporters. Each of these candidates were only allowed to bring one to keep it safe. We've asked the supporters, I think we'll start with 4 of you and then we'll see how we go, to tell us why you are supporting a specific candidate if you'd like, or you can throw a question to one of the other candidates based on what they've said here tonight. Go ahead, sir, and please introduce yourself before you begin.
Thank you very much. Jomo Japilo is my name. I'm the leader of the Independent Citizens Movement, and I'm here with Reverend Chris Matebula. What an exciting time to be living now and witnessing this history. And I must indicate you are all history makers. And I've heard, someone make mention that we are opponents. I don't see any opponents here, because I've heard that you all stand for a common ground. And 2 things that I'm sure of is that at some point we're going to have to converge. And the second issue is that you will be voted for. And quickly, 2 quick questions. One for Reverend Matebula is, I would like to know, stepping out of the comfort of your church and the success that we all know you have, how has it been and how have you been received, especially by the communities? Then the second question goes to the independent candidates. We know that the system, our electoral...
You have to pick one, I'm sorry. Just for time, pick one, and you have one more question. I'll allow you, because I'm allowing you to do 2 questions. Everybody can do 2, but that's the limit. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, because this is even more important, because it goes to independent candidates. Yeah. Our electoral system, as you know, this goes to independent candidates who are standing on their own. The electoral system, as we know, you're going to appear on the ballot paper, and only you will be voted for, and not the party. And you will win. We believe you will win. And you are going to cancel, and you're going to cancel alone. But you know that council is a decision-making structure where people go there as collectives. Now you've got a mandate of the community that you are accountable to. How are you going to circumvent the fact that you are alone in council, where people are going there in numbers and they will be voting together?
Okay, good.
Thank
question. You have to pick somebody. Would you like Jonas Radebe, independent candidate, or would you like Nongo Solo? Nongo, great. That's going to be your question as an independent candidate. All right, next supporter, please come up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful privilege. My name is Fatima Abdul, and I'm the Vice President of the United Independent Movement, and Kenny Nimach is one of our champions, and I'm supporting him tonight. This question goes to anyone who would like to answer. Would you ever form a coalition with DANSAF? DANSAF is DA, ANC, and EFF. I've given them one name because they sound the same. Because on one of the DA posters, it actually says you either vote DA or ANC, your choice. And John Steenhuisen actually said to people that they should not vote for smaller parties. And might I say, I am refreshingly surprised, and it's beautiful to be in the atmosphere of everyone here on stage, because me personally, I would work with any of the candidates on this platform. Second question to Kenny is why...
Just clarify, who's that question to?
Anyone. I see Eben would like to answer.
Okay, Eben will take it. Just for time, I'm worried we won't get through all 12.
Okay.
But that's fine, and you can ask your own
Kenny,
party members, sure.
Kenny, why did you decide to put up your hand for service for your community? Thank you.
Perfect. Next supporter, please come up.
Thank you very much. My name is Benjamin Mutsukunyani from Mfuleni, from a movement called New Horizon. I'm here with our leader, Ntate Jones. I'm part of the leadership of this movement. Before I can pose my question, let me make it clear to all the panelists. You are not small parties. You are new parties with a big heart. Other parties are not big. They are old parties with old tactics. So let me just ask this question to New Horizon leader. You know, there's this rhetoric of saying creating jobs, creating jobs. Now, as New Horizon, is that one of the promises, or is that a commitment that New Horizon is prepared to undertake? And please indicate to the whole nation, more especially the Mfuleni residents, how are you going to create those jobs? And the other question that I want to impose to all of you. Yeah. Okay. Reverend, please tell me, are you experiencing the same experience that we are going through? We are called small parties, but our posters are removed, and we know by who. I mean, if you come and place your poster where there are already existing posters, and the following morning you find your poster having been removed and those others are still there, you be the judge. So my question is, are you guys who are regarded as small parties also experiencing what we as New Horizon are experiencing in Mfuleni?
Thank you very much. Next person come up, and let's pick some of our female candidates. A question has been thrown to Masolo, but let's throw some questions to some of the female candidates on this panel.
Good evening, Francis, to the panel and the audience. My name is Tulisile Nkosi. I am the organizer of Sanko in Ward 46 Soweto. I'm here to support Comrade Nosipo. I've got a question for Reverend Matebula and to Comrade Nosipo. All right, the first question goes like this. Reverend Matebula, you spoke about empowering people in your community. So I want to know, how are you going to empower your people? If you can tell us that. Okay, another question goes to Ms. Nosipo. Ms. Nosipo, in our community, we've got a burning issue of drugs and security. Can you tell us what are the changes are you going to bring in our community? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let me just write that down, drugs in the community. And that's your supporter from Soweto. All right, let's start. Reverend Matebula, you got quite a few questions. Your own supporters said, how have you been received as a Christian leader?
Yeah, I need to say that it was a shock, to many people, because they've seen me in the space, of being a preacher. But because, the environment has changed, people they were actually feeling that this cannot go on. So when I raised my hand, because it is the team of ICM that came to me to say, we have seen your work, we have seen what you have done, you have built a school, and then you also brought your children into your school, not like many politicians. You know, they build schools for us, but they put their children in other schools. They build schools that they can't even trust. They build hospitals that they can't even go to. So these people, they look at me, they said, this is what we have done. This is what we have done into the community. We want you to extend the good work that we have done into the community. At the end of the day, the church really gave me the boost. They said, we are behind you.
Supporting you? Or
yes, definitely, because they also want change as well. They want a better life. So people have accepted us very well.
While I've got you, answer the other questions that were thrown at you. Are you experiencing the same thing as the small parties? Posters being removed, which sounds pretty awful. And then how will you empower your people? That was the final
Definitely. We've experienced the same problem, because people, they want, should I say, people, they've come to a point where they think they own South Africa, and then we are not supposed to rise and defend our people. I mean, not only posters, some of us, we receive calls where people are telling us, you know, what are you doing? Step down. This is not your lane. And I'm asking myself, which one is my lane? Who determines my lane? Because I'm a citizen, you know, but those type of things, they do happen because people, they don't want a change. People are concerned about their bread. I am not here for a bread. I am here for my community. I want to better the lives of the next generation. And that is why I will stand, and I will never be intimidated. You know, you can take those posters. Posters, they do nothing.
Yeah.
People, they know our work. They know what we stand for, because we've been around in the township, in our community all the time.
All right, thank you very much. There was a question to Nhungo Solo, independent candidate. How do you fare against the political machinery, I guess was the question. I don't know if you can give us some insights into costs, how difficult it really is.
Yes, for too long, the voices of young people, they have been suppressed, they have been undermined, they have been modified. There was no political party that is prepared to give young people decision-making at the highest level. Young people have been used as voting tools. We are called to actually fill in buses so that we fill stadiums. But when it comes to decision making, young people are not there. Now, the idea of independent candidates is to conscientize the society that, firstly, local government elections have got nothing to do with political parties, but with everything to do with activism within the community. So one, the person should reside in your community. Secondly, the person must have a track record of what they have been doing in that particular community. And that is what's about independent candidates, it's all about. So it's important that when you go to the ballot paper, you see the face of the person that has been so active in the community. But the issue that my leader is asking, what's going to happen when you get to the council? You are an independent candidate before elections. At the point when you win elections, you become a councillor. Each and every councillor has a budget. No councillor has money into their account, but each and every councillor qualifies for a budget from the treasury. What is unique with us is that we directly take the mandate from the community, and then we directly account to the community, and that we need to ensure that that budget now does what it's supposed to do instead of putting it in our own pockets. That's most important. But secondly, when we get to council, it's important that we talk to other citizens within the council, that we agree on certain things in terms of agreement on what we can do. But I must highlight that.
Okay, so let's give other people a chance, but you're saying that you won't be powerless. You will have some money to play with, and you can form alliances, things like that.
In fact, we are excited that organizations like New Horizon and Independent Citizens Movement exist. But I want to say they should have contested PR and leave ward candidate ballot paper where there's an independent candidate, because they are doing the same mistake that political parties are doing. They are dividing votes, and they are now challenging independent candidates.
Okay,
yet there's
maybe one of the party people can respond to that. I'll take a note. All right, Eben Janssen, so you were asked to respond to that rhetoric from the likes of the DA that don't vote for small parties. How can you counter that?
I first want to say something on the posters, you know. The fact that our neighborhoods are a total mess with posters all over by the big political parties with all that budget that's probably our money they're spending on these posters just shows how out of touch they are with where modern South Africans are, you know. These kind of campaigns don't happen on polls, you know. You have to really do your work in your community, you really have to contribute, and you really have to be sincere. It's not as simple as throwing a poster up on the wall and there you go. I live on my phone, and so does everyone else. And if you can't get a message across on that device, then you've lost your way, which I think we can see. But with regards to coalitions, that said,
well, what about the DA, your response to the DA saying don't vote for the smaller parties?
I think it's
what would the Dagga party say to that?
It's a little bit desperate, isn't it? It's like, there's a trust deficit here. You can support someone else, but vote for me. Really?
Okay.
It's a little bit schizo, isn't it?
All right, thank you very much. Let me...
I have to answer about the coalitions, Francis. About DANCEF. Is it DANCEF? Yeah. The DANCEF coalition, DANCEFF coalition. That was my question.
Okay, I apologize. I thought it was the DA saying don't vote for the smaller parties, but you can answer about coalitions very quickly.
Yeah, they also claim not on Cape Town. But anyhow, that's another story for another day, Francis. I think, all of us are here for the same reason, because we want to work together to make it better. And if we're going to work together to make it better, and we are forced to work with dinosaurs and other things, we have to make our country work. We will find a way. So I'm not even talking about coalitions now. I'm just talking about cooperating and finding the best way forward for us as a nation, because we're a little bit stuck. We're bereft of ideas and leadership. And the truth is, if you look at DANCEF, as it's called, they're a little bit lost themselves.
All right. Thank you very much. From the Dagga Party to the United Independent Movement, Kenny, your party supporter, asked you why you got involved, and let me add to that. Are there any lessons from soccer, from your old soccer days that you would even take into politics?
Thank you for that, Francis. I was born in a time of apartheid. I've now also moved
Kenny, we're not getting your mic, so we're going to bring you another mic. We're going to quickly sanitize that, and then you can start that answer again. Give us 2 seconds.
Only scoring own goals.
It's not his fault.
I come from the old and the new. I've experienced them both, and I felt as if in my life and what I've done as a football person in my career, I've always been amongst the people. I've always been in touch and been in touch with the actual pulse of how people feel. I have never felt discrimination. I've never felt hate. But constantly we have people propagating hate to cause division. We now sit with a myriad of problems because they want to cling and cleave onto power. But what they don't understand is that we have a new generation of kids that have come through. It's now 30 years. Their thinking, their ideologies are totally different. We would like to see new and dynamic leadership. We would like to see young kids who have no racial issues. They mix, they mingle, they talk. If you talk to young kids, I talk to kids like a 20-year-old. I asked him, are you going to vote? No. Why are you not going to vote? Because it will not change anything. So we've lost 16 million voters the previous election. So something is wrong. So the reason why I decide to get involved, hopefully, is that I can also have a voice and not be on the sidelines, be silent, not do anything about it. We see a whole lot that is wrong, and it's too much to go through. We see it in our communities. And we've got to raise our voices. But most importantly, as we all sit here, let's think unity. Yep. Let's think unity. It's very, very important, because I promise you, without unity, you'll never have the power to fight the enemy. He's divided and he's conquered. Now come together, like we're coming together today. Let's come together.
From the other candidates. Thank you very much. Kenny, let's move to New Horizon Movement supporting Bishop Jones. And your party supporters said, obviously we're talking about Mfuleni, the broken municipality. What can you really, is it a commitment or is it a promise? What can you really do about creating jobs there?
It's a commitment, Francis. Let me also say that I am seeing a time when we will all come together and really change this. It is a commitment. One of the things we would need to do the very first day we take over is to establish Mfuleni safety officers to make sure that in every ward, Francis, we have at least 27 peace officers who would work towards fighting crime. That is important. That's where we would create over 2,000 jobs. That is a commitment. Secondly, we're going to scrap tenders. Tender system, we're going to scrap it. You see, tender, it's given to one cadre who makes sure that he maximizes on profit and employ as few people as possible, and even in the material, and make sure that he robs on material. And we are saying, like garbage collection, we have to employ people to actually do that. But also, we need investment. And how do you do that? Make sure that you run municipality professionally. Make sure that there is skills audit. Right people are in right position. Make sure that you build infrastructure. Roads are built. We're going to make sure that we separate Department of Roads from parks and cemetery so that we concentrate on building.
Does that help create jobs?
That is creating jobs through security, building infrastructure, and making sure that we cut and we scrap tenders. And we must run municipality properly so that we can tell the story to the world to say,
Bishop,
here's a safe place for investment.
All right, before we take a break, I want to give a chance to Nosipho Kuta Manake from Soweto. From Ward 46, you were asked a question by your supporter about the drugs, the specific problems in your areas and what solutions you can provide.
Yes, thank you, Francis. It's a big issue of drugs in our location, in our area. The three communities, which is Zola, Zondi, and Jablane, you go corner to corner, it's same thing. Our youth have been neglected for so long, and they don't have anything better to do but to do drugs. And now we have CPFs in our community, and it is not enough to have CPF, because now everything is being given to CPF. It's like now it's responsible for CPF. Yes, you know. But now we need our community to unite and have Ubuntu again. They must have that Ubuntu in them, that, you know, your child, the child from next door, if they see doing a wrong thing, they must put an end to it. And coming together, uniting as the community, it will bring back the safety and, you know, the wealth that's supposed to come in our ward. It will come because it will be safe. Our streets are not safe because now these kids, they are so arrogant. They're fighting with everybody, and we have a problem with we have the problem with our government, because they've been promising kids jobs. They've been promising kids free education. Come for them to deliver, they don't. And what happened now?
And you've spoken about how you believe in children and the development from a very young age.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let's pause it there, but we will come back to the M1 studio and see if we can continue this discussion, this debate, diversity here, but a lot of the same views about how important independent candidates and small political parties can be. And let's take some tweets from our viewers as well. See you shortly.
cost and how little you could pay for car insurance. Like Marion, who pays just 746 Rand a month for her new 2021 Toyota Fortuner. What are you waiting for? SMS CAR to 44211 or call 08600 60,000 today for great premiums and awesome service from a brand you trust.
For my family, only.
We'll shortly go back to Frances Hurd and her discussion with independent and smaller political parties. For now, though, political parties across the country have continued with the campaign trail in a last-ditch effort to woo voters for the upcoming local government elections. Some independent candidates contesting the elections in Tshwane have vowed to give dominant political parties a run for their money.
Julius Meya Khabara from Mabopane, north of the city, is contesting the elections as an independent candidate for Ward 21. Described by his community as selfless and hardworking, Rapolo says he has been a service delivery activist since 2008 in Mabopane, an area which was proclaimed in 1959 as a black-only residential settlement by the then Transvaal administration. In 1977, it was incorporated into the now defunct Bophuthatswana homeland. It now falls under the city of Tshwane. Rapolo says democracy hasn't yielded the expected results.
We are a country that has magnificent laws, but the people who are supposed to implement what is written on paper are not doing justice to the laws that we have as a country. In Ward 21, and I'll be specific to say in Ward 21, the service delivery system has deteriorated from the era of Bophuthatswana in pre-1994. There has never been a change, not even a single change in Ward 21. Our parents in Block B still reside in asbestos roof homes, which is causing them lots and lots of illness. Now, a caring government in 27 years would have long removed those things, ensured that because our people of Ward 21, most of them are unemployed and elders and do not afford to buy electricity, ensure that you put solar geysers for them so that you can cut the cost of electricity.
Rapolo says top on the agenda will be to address issues of water, roads and street lights that are not functioning, among others. The issue of an erroneous billing system is another concern. Just recently, the public protector announced that huge electricity and water bills were caused by the municipality's failure to take meter readings regularly. Rapolo says he has already made strides in addressing the matter after months of toiling.
On the 24th of June 2021, the Tshwane Council took a resolution to write off 2,800,000 owed illegally by residents of Mabopane, Winterveld, Harangu and Hammanskraal. Today, our people can enjoy those fruits because we serve them. We're saying owed illegally because what happened was, for a period from 2017 to date, meter readings were not taken, so the city could not explain how we accumulated our debt.
Rapolo also has plans to revive the township economy.
We are going to create partnerships with big business. That partnership will enable our young people so that they can impart skills in those businesses, create job opportunities for them. In essence, we're going to start a relationship whereby the Township Revival Plan that was unpacked by MEC Pakstau will be working closely with that Office of Economic Development in Gauteng to understand where they want to take our kids, how we access those resources within there, then partner with the Department of Trade and Industry and also do skills development for them. So we are not just going to say our kids are employable. We want them to be able to be job creators.
She says they will have electricity and everything because they've witnessed Rapolo's contribution and they are happy about it.
There was a program at schools for feeding scheme. He was part of that. He was fighting for it. Everyone here now in Mabopane, Winterveld, Soshanguve, they have that thing of feeding schemes, and it's all because of him. He had a team with him, but he was there.
Recently, residents led by Rapolo protested at the Electoral Commission's offices lamenting the fact that their names were removed from a voter's roll in Ward 21 to Ward 12. They say they want the IEC to make sure that all the residents vote where they stay, as is prescribed by the Electoral Act.
Now, residents of Ward 21 who have registered to vote in Ward 21 were designated to vote in Ward 12 by IEC. It was a technical error which we alerted the IEC of in August, to the follow-up in September, until last week Monday, when we marched to the IEC office to say we are not ready to vote where we do not stay. We want to influence decisions in our homes where we are resident at.
Rapolo says they've reached an out-of-court settlement which is in favor of the affected residents. He's now confident that he's done enough to convince residents to know where to put their cross come November the 1st. Mulimone Motwa, SABC News, Mabopani.
The question we're asking you today is, will you be voting for an independent candidate in the upcoming local government elections? We're asking you to tweet us at FullViewSABC is our handle. Remember, you can also log on to sabcnews.com to see the interviews or segments of the shows that have been playing. So let's take a look then at what you're saying. Dins Moeng says, I don't see a point of voting for independent candidates. I will vote for an organization that has done a lot for us, and I believe they will continue to do sterling work for us. Olani Kobo says, I don't think I will, because service delivery starts from the council meeting. That's where there will be sabotage. If they move motions in the council, will not be supported. They'll have to make a coalition with a certain political party for their voice to be heard. And I'm sure he's saying he's from Matatiele. Dennis Malele says, never, independent or otherwise, won't be wasting precious time. Where are the long overdue services in our rural communities? Single out any project. Right. Makara Mafike says, evening, yes, we can't risk having people with struggle for power together. Conspicuously, they aren't going to work and provide quality services, but rather try to show one another which is more powerful. So one independent candidate is enough to serve their mandate. I thank you, and we thank you for participating in our question of the day. Pule Mahate says, evening, Francis. Independent candidates are bringing an exciting pool of ideas in our councils. Remember that the ruling party has always deployed people who can hardly interpret municipal acts, and our independents are mostly people who have knowledge and high levels of expertise. All right, Lechasa Batla Molo wa Azapo says, Salochane Badu Beketu, #4View. Unfortunately, I'm a councillor candidate under Azapo. I will be voting independent candidate if not taking part, because the purpose of independent candidates is to collapse the ANC, DA and EFF because they are arrogant. So those are some of the views of our viewers coming in. You can tweet us at FullViewSABC is our handle. Let's take you back to the M1 studios. Francis, good evening again, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Nzinga. So some of our viewers saying they won't vote for independents, some saying they would. And if you're interested in independent candidates or some of the smaller parties, we're meeting them, talking through some of those ideas tonight. And so much diversity on this panel. We appreciate all of your time. But a lot of them saying, if you can't trust the big established parties, go to the smaller grassroots movements or political parties, or the independent candidates who are there in the communities, sharing in the struggles and coming up with the right solutions. Let me pose some questions to some of you that weren't put on the spot last time. Just for time, we know you've each got a supporter here. I'm going to pose those questions. Jonas Khadebe, independent candidate, we spoke to you earlier, aligned to the Community Solidarity Association. You are contesting wards across municipalities in the Sedibeng district, including Mfuleni. That's the Midvaal, 45 in Mfuleni, 15 wards in Midvaal, 13 wards in Lesedi. I'm interested to know, how difficult is it to contest over 70 wards? Are there costs involved? How do you do it? And is this not a spray and pray approach, or do you think you can really get support in all those wards?
No, Francis, it is not. But I just forgot to tell you that we are also contesting the city of Johannesburg as Community Solidarity Association. Okay. It is not only the 73 wards that are in Citibank District Municipality. So City of Johannesburg, we have also made some footprints in the City of Johannesburg. I've heard you saying some so-called big political parties recognizing us as smaller parties. But let me make this analogy. I think Kenny will bear the testimony. Make a comparison. You know, at some point there was one small team, unknown, Maluti Apofong FET football club. It embarrassed one of the biggest teams in South Africa with no name. So watch the space, South Africa.
Okay. Good making this analogy with a former soccer star here, sure. Okay, but quickly get to the question of this incredible amount of wards. How do you cut yourself so thin?
In actual fact, we are actually not born out of the anger, frustration. We've been on the field since from 2016, 2017, after we have seen that our municipality has collapsed. So definitely, since from then, we have worked preparing for 2021. So it is not that difficult. Yes, financially we are struggling if we are to compare us with the other political parties, but that is not going to deter us from, taking the bull by its horn.
Okay, so you're an independent candidate, but you have this association behind you. So there is backing from the Community Solidarity Association in terms of costs and the overall infrastructure.
Let me clarify this, Francis. Community Solidarity Association is actually a civic movement that was formed by the activists within the Mfuleni municipality. So it is that body that is actually driving the...
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, let's see who is left out, and it's David Murray, who's contesting in the northern suburbs. And my question to you, I mean, some would say these are suburban areas where you have big walls, the problems people are complaining, but it's nothing like what people in informal settlements are enduring. Then you've got this idea of direct democracy, vote for me. How do you go out there and galvanize support? Do you knock on doors? What do you do? How do you get people to notice you in those homes?
Well, the voters are noticing the issues, and so they don't need anybody to bring it to their attention that things are at crisis levels, that things are not running properly in the city, and that there's no clear path offered by, and I think it was Fatima that introduced the term DANCEF. Was it Fatima? Thank you, Fatima. I'm going to copy that for the rest of my life, and I'll always attribute it to you. But DANCEF have failed with monolithic party structures in dealing with grassroots issues. And when I was listening to Nazipa speak, I was saying to myself, she knows exactly what the issue is, and it takes 20 minutes to discuss it. So we can't spend 20 minutes to discuss it. We all know what the problems are on the ground as independents. We need to get into power and to start working together to sort them out. It's not complicated. It's not like Elon Musk sending a person to Mars. Luckily Elon's going to do that. We can sort out the stuff at the local level. And the last thing I'd say is that the community is, you mentioned that I'm in the leafy suburbs, and half of our trees are dying because they weren't cared for properly. The wires of our network are collapsing because they haven't been maintained. And I have an informal settlement less than 30 meters from my door of men who will never find a job and who have never been able to find a job. And so the reality of Johannesburg and South Africa today has come home to roost on every house.
All right, thank you very much. David Murray, and then next to you, Chief Stephen Katz, the South African Royal Kingdom Organizations is the party that you're under. And this is, of course, about what the Khoisan people want. My question to you is, I thought there had been some progress, in news. We've been following the demands. If you had to pick one thing that is really required for the Khoisan people now to feel more included, to feel more dignified, what would it be?
Yes, Francis, you know, being on the ground for the last 40 plus years, you know, if you look at me, I'm from the class of 76. So we know what has happened around the block. And we have engaged whatever. So what we need to get back to the basics. And the basic is, you know, there is no ethical leadership within our communities, you know. And we need to get that aspect right. And to involve the community in our decision making. And this is where we want to give the power, as we've heard this afternoon, back to the communities, so that we as a people then, as move forward in this new transformation, regeneration, you know. We're not talking in words, you know. We're talking action that needs to be done. And only when, and also one of the other things is the truth, you know, is the only thing that will set us free.
All right.
So we need to do this as well.
Thank you very much, Chief. All right, Jonathan Bayers from the Organic Humanity Movement. I don't know if you can actually respond to a question raised by one of your fellow panelists. Nongo Solo was saying, why are the smaller parties actually crowding us out as independent candidates? I don't know if you have any view on smaller party versus independent candidates, and if you agree or disagree with her.
Well, you know, I think there lies a different kind of power in terms of being an independent. You are able to yield a different kind of power because you have autonomy. You have more leverage in terms of dealing with real issues, both at an institutional level in terms of government and governance. But more importantly, I think that you don't carry the baggage and the burden of compliance around party politics. And for me, therein stands the value of independence. Smaller parties, for me, is about a redefinition of the landscape around party politics, is that smaller groups have the resilience and the niche capacity to deal with, for example, the issue of comprehensive sex education around the Constitution and the right of children. So being a smaller party, you can actually focus rather than deal with the myopic views of the landscape of party politics. So for example, when it comes to the comprehensive education compliance that impacts in the best interest of children, you can actually stand up and say, excuse me, you cannot, under the auspices of a candy-coated euphemism, say that we have 9-year-olds falling pregnant. No, the Constitution and the institution of the government has provided the environment for children to be violated sexually, and don't call it early pregnancy because it is in fact rape and it is enabling pedophiles. So independent parties are critical to issues like that because
having a voice
they take priority. Exactly.
All right. All right, that's receiving some support. And an independent candidate next to you, Matsepiso Finka, we were talking about your area, Dainfern, this affluent suburb, and then all the informal settlements. You said the most informal settlements in Joburg, in a ward in Joburg. And you said they caught up in this power play, the ANC not supporting because it's a DA ward. What can the DA do? What could you do, actually, if you came in as an independent candidate there? Would you have power to do anything? Can we hear her, guys? All right, stand by. We're going to get a workable mic in the next few seconds, and I'll hold that question. And then we have one more question.
Take the one next to you. Take that one.
Let's just... He's coming, don't worry, there. All right, Ms. Finker, go ahead.
What could I do?
Yeah.
One of the most important and perhaps even understated roles of ward councillors in particular is social cohesion. And here in a ward like this lies a prime opportunity to almost become an example, a microcosm of what it would look like if ordinary citizens and residents of that area who are integrous, first of all, who are truthful, who are not driven by party political ambition or greed or money, but genuine concern and care for the development and well-being of that community, would see themselves as a bridge builder between these various communities of varying advantage, underlined by the understanding that all human beings matter and are important. Underprivileged and privileged alike. One of the things, the vices of the big parties that I personally hate the most is their play on the underprivileged, on the poor, on the plight of the poor, the genuine suffering of the poor for their own opportunistic ends. All people matter, whether they're in Steyn City or whether they're in Thabo Mbeki informal settlement. And the role that a ward councillor could play is to harness the collective resources of a ward like mine, for example, to link job seekers and job finders and people who are at, job seekers and people who are looking for employment in various creative ways, create common markets. Even elementary ideas can bring people in an unequal society and community as mine is.
All right, so you believe you have power as an independent candidate to do all those things. For time's sake, I'm going to go to your right, another independent candidate. Also, you spoke about the eels, the social and economic situation in Pimville and Soweto, where you are, the young people who don't have jobs, and this is an overwhelmingly young ward. What if people say to you, well, what can you do as a Lone Ranger?
As I mentioned before, I'm very passionate in terms of sports and recreation. I believe that in Pimville, we are a sporting community. We have a lot of soccer fields. So the main issues where we can try rebuild and create job opportunities is probably through maintenance programs. As I mentioned, if we probably make our grass green, then we know that if our grounds are fully functional, then we know that we can teach kids in terms of academy, we can brew coaches, we can make sure that, we can...
And can you make that happen as an independent candidate?
I can make it happen. I've been making things happen within the community because I believe that the problem is that we've never given brands direct access within the community. Every time we've got multi-sporting facilities, but brands are not involved within the community. Like today on KFM during the week, I was speaking about how Hennessy and NBA have collaborated. And this is not me promoting alcohol, but I'm just saying that in Pimville, we've got about 5 basketball courts already that are not being utilized. But we've got a big brand like Hennessy and NBA right now, currently as I'm speaking, they're having an event at Konka. And they're leaving out the community. So why can't we integrate all of that with sports so that we can create those kind of opportunities for the communities and giving big brands direct access into the community so that we can put Soweto on
and you spoke about the
level.
green areas. There's always a cry for green areas in Soweto and in townships generally. All right, thank you. You're all going to have one final go at answering why should people vote for you. Summing it up in 30 seconds. You're going to have 30 seconds and we're going to be strict. And if you've just tuned in, we are speaking to some of the smaller parties. Some of them you would have heard of. We're speaking to some of the independent candidates. And this is just a little taste because there are thousands running in this local government election November 1. Can they move and shake up our politics? All right, let's start with candidate 1, Eben Janssen, party candidate, Dagga Party. You have 30 seconds. Go.
Thank you very much, Francis. Yes, vote for the Dagga Party because we've got an economic plan. We believe we've got a miracle plant that can not just revive our economy, but the economies of the entire Southern Africa. If we understand this, if we work it better, we can really create a marketplace for the entire world. We can become the growing hub for the world, and we can put the points on our GDP that will create the jobs. I'm passionate about that, and that's what we're going to do.
Thank you. Jonas Radebe, independent candidate, but aligned to the Community Solidarity Association in the Sedibeng and Joburg areas.
Our humble request to voters out there to vote Community Solidarity Association, it has been the voice of the people when no any other party spoke on behalf of the people. When the governing parties were busy looting the resources, we are the ones that stood up for the community and make them aware that, their townships, their areas are being looted. So for that reason, we are appealing to them to say we are the hope for those that are hopeless.
Thank you. Bishop Vincent Jones, party candidate and president of the New Horizon movement, as well as a mayoral candidate. 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you. We have a governing party in Mfuleni that has not had a conference since 2018. They are led by a transitional committee. What has been the result is taking the same people into municipality. Mfuleni has been under administration since 2018. There is no governance, and we are saying let's turn things around. If you love Mfuleni, vote New Horizon movement.
Thank you very much. Nongo Solo, independent candidate, and of course you are contesting in the city of Ekurhuleni in Sakane. 30 seconds.
Ward 82, all the voters are receiving 2 ballot papers. For the first time, vote for a person you see and not a logo. And on the second ballot paper, vote for a small party. At the end of the day, in the council, they will unite. Your vote is your right. Our forefathers died for. Your vote is your voice, which is for change, for young person, for women. And your vote is your faith. For faith is the substance of things hoped for. And after voting, all that you hope for, you must see. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Nasipo Kuta Manake, independent candidate, Ward 46 in Soweto, an alternative to the ANC candidate there. 30 seconds.
Thank you. It's time for our community to make a change. It's time for them to vote for a change. Isikhathi sokuthi bakwazi ukuzimela. We've been doing things on our own without help of the government. We've been able to do things. It's time for the community to stand and say, isikhathi phambili ngabahlali, isikhathi sabahlali lesi. Do the right thing.
Thank you very much. David Murray, candidate for Ward 117, Parkhurst area in Johannesburg. 30 seconds.
Thank you. If you're disillusioned with where we're stuck at the moment, this is your opportunity to vote for a candidate that's going to work for you, that you can kick out if they don't do a good job in 5 years' time. Whereas if you stick with the old one, you're going to have the same old one again in 5 years' time. Thank you.
Chief Stephen Katz, party candidate, South African Royal Kingdom Organisation. And of course, this is about the agenda for the Khoisan people. 30 seconds.
We will be focusing on the economic emancipation, as well as our old, the youth, and the women. And then we want to bring back the eradication of corruption and bring back the issue of trade centers, etc. Because that is lacking. That is why our youth don't know who they are. And one of the biggest issues that we as Khoisan will be facing is the awareness programs in our communities.
All right, thank you very much. Reverend Chris Matabula, party candidate for the Independent Citizen Movement, mayoral candidate in Ekurhuleni. You come from Kempton Park. 30 seconds.
Listen to me very carefully. You don't stumble to your future. You create the future that you want. If you want a better South Africa, ICM, it is there for you, people of Ekurhuleni. It is time for you now to take charge. You can't just sit on the corner and hoping that somebody will solve your problem for you. Vugani nizenzele. This is the right time for us to make a move in this country, not just for ourselves, but for the sake of the next generation.
Thank you. Jonathan Bayes, party candidate, Organic Humanity Movement, mayoral candidate as well for Mogale City. Your 30 seconds starts now.
South Africans, vote for the Organic Humanity Movement, and together let's journey like the rainmakers that we are. Let us take back our liberties and exercise our right to be free so that we are less dependent on the state and we are less dependent on corporations for jobs. Let's take control of our food, our water, our shelter, our power, and most of all, let's keep sane, happy, and let's love each other, stand together in unity.
Matsepisa Finka, thank you very much. Matsepisa Finka, independent candidate, Ward 96, Dainfern area up to Lanseria. 30 seconds.
Thank you. Abraham Lincoln once said, elections belong to the people. It is their choice. If they decide to turn their backs on the fire, then they will just have to sit on the blisters. There's a clear sense that there's a crisis. Things are not working. We have shared frustrations and shared problems, whether those are first world, if I can call it that, problems of water pressure, or the fact that you don't even have a drop coming out of your tap. Our democracy is maturing 27 years later. We cannot keep doing the same thing the same way and expect different results.
Okay.
We have an opportunity as people, as citizens, to be more active and to take things into our own hands.
Thank you. Kabetsa Malebo, independent candidate for Ward 22 in Pimville in Soweto. 30 seconds starts now.
Dumelang bahlali ba Pimville, Ward 22. I'm asking you to vote for independence because we know that our lives are not dependent on political structures. Let us push for self-governance. We can do everything by ourselves. Let us rebuild and build the Pimville of Pimville. Make sure that we push accelerated service delivery. I'll be there for you. Whenever there's a problem, I'll be there. Whenever there's a solution, I'll be there. Pimville. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Kenny Nimak, party candidate, United Independent Movement, contesting Ward 31, including Boksburg in Ekurhuleni.
Let us not lose our freedom. Let us protect our constitution. Let us have leadership that is accountable. We, the UIM, propose that we walk on the lines that are accountable to the people. It is all about the people, rule of the people, for the people. So come and vote now on the 1st of November for the UIM, and we will keep you in good stead to ensure that our country stays free.
All right, thank you very much. And that's where we basically wrap it up from the M1 studio at the SABC, giving you a taste of some of the independent candidates, the smaller political parties that are out there. And this is just a tiny taste. Thank you. There are so many of you, but a tiny taste because of the huge numbers of people who have stood up, put their hands up and said, pick me this time. Let me offer you something different. And thank you all. I think what you have done as well is shown people that politics can be interesting and there are options, and hopefully you've inspired a few people out there to go and actually vote. Thank you very much, and thank you for being with us. It's been great to have you here at M1. A good night from me.
Thanks so much, Francis Hurd, coming to us live from the M1 studio there. It's time for your weather and sports. I'll see you at the top of the hour.